our hashtag FAFSA Flexing Challenge, where we're giving out some special prizes. So you want to make sure that you stick around for that. And then lastly, we're going to wrap it out by preparing for our next session, where we'll go over some additional information about FAFSA, tell you about some important documents to bring, and get you squared away. So let's go ahead and begin.
Thanks, Ms. Tucker. So if you guys have any friends that may or may not want jackets from Under Armour, you should probably text them and tell them to come to this presentation. Before we get started, just want you guys to know, if you're listening and you have a Social Security card or a Social Security number, that you're going to want to get that information, whether it's your actual card, whether it is you need to call or text one of your parents or guardians. You're going to need that information today to complete your FAFSA. So just kind of want to put that plug out there so that you guys can connect with whoever you need to. So the FSA ID, we're going to get started today with, actually, you're going to walk away today with your FSA ID. So you guys are ready to hit the ground running when you need to start your FAFSA, which we're actually going to present on in 2 weeks as well. So just kind of get rocking and rolling here. The FSA ID is different from the FAFSA. So the FSA ID, the FAFSA, so the FAFSA is the form that you fill out to get funding for college. But the FSA ID is what you need to actually sign your FAFSA. Like, you guys can't take a pen and like write your name on a computer screen. And so you're going to be, the FSA ID is basically your electronic signature. And so you can't actually sign into your FAFSA, and you cannot submit your FAFSA without an FSA ID. And so essentially it is just a username and a password that you create that allows you to access the FAFSA form and sign it electronically. Do not get excited and move forward and start doing it, because in order to successfully complete the FSA ID, which we're going to do today together, you need to know a few key things. And so if everyone can just kind of bring their listening ears forward, you only get one FSA ID for your entire life. It is almost as important as your social security number. It is not like an email where you can make multiple accounts. It's not like when you lose your license and you can just go to the MVA and get a new one. You get one FSA ID ever, and that's going to be the username and password that you create today, and you will keep it for the rest of your life. So we just want to make sure that you guys are doing it correctly and you're not moving forward too quickly. So try to stay with us with our pace. And so when you create your FSA ID, in order to confirm that you are who you say you are, the government is going to have to cross-check your name with the FSA ID, and they're going to match it to the Social Security Administration. They're going to match it to the Department of Homeland Security. They're going to match it to all these like government agencies. There's 5 of them. And so you need to make sure that your FSA ID matches exactly what is on your Social Security card. This is not going to be, the next few minutes is not going to be where we're going to guess that this maybe is or isn't how your name is spelled. It is or isn't what your Social Security number is. Your date of birth, your name, and your Social Security number that you create with your FSA ID have to match exactly what is with the Social Security Administration. And so that is usually, honestly, one of the biggest barriers that prohibits our students from completing the FAFSA successfully, is they forget their FSA ID or their credentials aren't matching. So with that said, if you do not have a Social Security number and you're listening right now, if you're undocumented, if you're here on a visa, you're not actually eligible for federal aid. You are eligible for state money from the state of Maryland. And so it's going to be through something called the MISFA. And so what I'm actually going to do is add to the chat here, because I want this to be relevant. If you guys have any friends who are not eligible for aid, if they're undocumented or they're here on a visa, please feel free to share this information from them. They can't get money from the federal government, but they can get money from the state of Maryland. So please, sharing is caring. Please pass this along, but just wanted to make sure that you guys had that information. So let's just dive into it here. Alexis, can you keep monitoring the chat and let us know if you have anything? This is your time, the next 20, 25 minutes. You guys are earning a grade for this. We recommend that you guys use your time, the experts that are here to help you, and so that you guys can walk away today with your FSA ID. So hopefully we're all paying attention. The first thing you're going to do is you can go to Google. You can just go to fsaid.ed.gov. and you're gonna come to a page that looks like this. And I'm gonna try not to be too slow or too quickly here. But the first thing you're gonna go to do is go to the fsaid.ed.gov website. Again, don't move ahead because it's really easy to make an error. And so we just kind of wanna stay on the same pace here. I promise you your FSA ID is not something that you want to mess up or have an error with, because you will be on hold with the Department of Education until your 75th birthday. So the first tab here, there's about 5 different steps to completing it. The first step is to actually create your FSA ID and your password. So in this box, in these 3 boxes here, you're going to make up a username essentially and a password that you want to use for your FSA ID. If it's already in the system, then it's going to show up in red if it's not available. And so if it is available, the website will push you to the next screen. Make sure you write down what it is. So I'm going to follow you guys, and I'm going to try and make this my username. Okay. And let's see, if I push continue, will they let me move forward? All right, so that means that that username and password, it might not be available. Let's see. You're gonna click continue. Okay, so that took it, right? All right, this is the most important page you're gonna come to. Can you guys drop some ones in the host? If you guys can send a chat to us privately, letting me know that you guys are on this screen, this next screen here. I wanna make sure we're ready to go. All right. Do you have to be in a certain grade to fill this out? That's a really great question. Yes, you need to be in the 12th grade. Well, in order to fill out your FAFSA, your FSA ID, you don't. To fill out your FAFSA, you don't complete it until you are a senior in high school. So your FSA ID, if you are in the 10th or the 11th grade and you want to start this now, that's great. Lock it in, do it somewhere, keep it somewhere really safe. Because you will use this for the rest of your life. So you're here right now, this is definitely worth your time because you're gonna save yourself an extra step for next year. Great question. So this next page, as I said, most important part of the page, which username do we put in? You create one. So basically you go back to the previous page and you just make up a username and password. It has nothing to do with city schools. It has nothing to do with anything. Just like make up a password for yourself that you want to be your username and that you want to be your password. And if it hasn't been taken already, it will push you onto the page that I'm on now. Okay. If you have not already, please write down the username and the password that you just created. Put it down in a few places. Maybe email it to yourself, because students lose this all the time. If you put it in your phone and your phone breaks, or you get a new phone, write it down somewhere safe. Again, email it to yourself. All of this information on the second page here is going to be verified by the government. So I want to emphasize again, your first name has to be exactly as it appears on your Social Security card. Your middle initial has to be exactly as it appears on your Social Security card. If you have 2 middle names, so let's say your name is Jose Eduardo Kenneth Rosario. Your first middle name will be the initial. If you do not have a middle name, you can leave it blank. All right. Again, if we have any, this should be all students on this call. Sometimes parents like to mix things up. It has to be the student's name, the student's date of birth, and the student's Social Security number. So you would put in your information, and when you're done, I want you guys to triple check your Social Security number is correct, triple check that your name and your date of birth is your date of birth, because again, this is what is going to trip you guys up if you get stuck. Again, if you do not have a social, still pay attention to these rules, because when you fill out the MISFA, this level of accuracy is also super important. I'm going to give you guys a second to catch up with that. How are we all doing? Can I get a good in the chat? We doing good? We doing great? We getting $6,000 from the government? Yes, we are. All right. I actually cannot go any further with you guys, so I'm going to switch my screen while you're finishing up. The reason I can't go any further with you is because this is a live site. I already have an FSA ID. I created one 12 years ago when I went to college. I use it again in grad school, and I use it every month when I repay my student loans. So I cannot create a new one because I don't have a fake social security number. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to switch over for you guys, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to show you. You're going to move forward, and you're going to see security questions. Whoop. These security questions are really important that you answer them in a way that they're not subjective. So if it's asking you your favorite color, and your favorite color is purple when you are 17, but it's going to be blue when you are 25, just make sure it's something that you guys are always going to remember. A parent's maiden name, the name of your first elementary school, whatever, name of your best friend. Well, actually that will probably change too. So make sure it's something that will not change over time. There are 3 ways, if you forget your FSA ID, there are 3 ways that the government is going to allow you to reset your password. 1 is the security questions, 2 is going to be your email, and 3 is going to be your cell phone number. Let's say your cell phone, yes, that's a great question. Which email do we use? You always want to use an email that you are going to check regularly and that you will have access to over your lifetime. So your city school's email address is not the email address to use because you will not have it after you graduate from high school. The other thing you have to remember is that you are going to need an FSA ID, and a parent or guardian will have to also have an FSA ID unless you are an independent student, meaning you are homeless or in foster care. Because of that, you and your parent cannot have the same cell phone number registered. You and your parent cannot have the same email address. So make sure it's an email address, a Gmail account that you check regularly. And it's the same thing it's going to ask you probably for a phone number. You want to make sure it's a working cell phone number, because in a few minutes, the government is going to email you a verification code to the email address you put on this document right now, as well as a text message. We have a lot of students that just try to like click through stuff, and they're like, I'm not giving them my phone number, I'm not giving them my email, and then they get screwed over because they can't reset their password because they didn't provide that information. So again, make sure your security questions are good, make sure that your cell phone number is working, and make sure that your email address is also something that you have access to. I'm gonna log in to my account. So whenever you guys need to change your password or you forget it, you're going to manage my FSA ID, and I'm actually going to log into my real FSA ID. Well, that's not helpful. All right, you guys still with us? Okay. So I have shown up, this is my FSA ID, and now that I created it, you guys aren't there yet, but you can see here, I have challenge questions. And so I can change these as I need to. All right. So again, email addresses should not be your city school's email address. It should be one that you have access to. What you ultimately want to get to, this is a little fuzzy on the screen right now, but you want to get to something that says to verify a secure code. What if we have to stop during the middle of the setup? Yes, that is not going to be great. Sometimes if you've already created your username, password, and you've put in your social, and you can't move forward, sometimes it locks you out. So you want to do this in one sitting. That's a really great question. So I would again keep listening if you have to stop, and then I would make sure that you're listening to all the questions that you have to ask a parent to confirm. So Hope that's helpful. My information is going to be at the end of this presentation. So if you have personal questions, the FAFSA process is very individualized. College application process, everyone writes an essay, everyone submits transcripts, everyone, whatever. The FAFSA process is different for every single person. So get my information, talk to your school counselor. We can make sure that you guys get set up with what you need. Again, you're so welcome. So at the end of the process, you're essentially going to come to these pages that are going to tell you to enter a secure code. You're going to think it's asking you the same question twice. It's not. The first question, you got to read the words. It's going to say, after you need to verify, press continue to verify your email address. When it says email address, go to your email, get the verification code, put it in the secure code, click continue. It's going to show you the same message again, but instead of saying go to your email, it's going to say go to your phone number. So that's when you need to look for the secure code on your phone. You're going to get a text and you're going to put that in. Is an alternate phone number required? It's not. It's not. If you have a house phone, they're not going to text your house. They might be able to call you. I would just make sure you have a phone number in there that likely won't change. But again, if your security questions are strong, if you have at least an email or at least a phone number, even if your phone number changes, but your email and your security questions don't change, at least you give yourself options, right? To reset your password. We have a lot of students that are like, they just do the security questions and then they like skip everything else and then they forget one of their security questions and then they can't get in and they have to call the Social Security Administration, which is literally the worst thing in the whole world. It just takes forever and you guys just don't have time for that. So no, don't need an alternate. So it looks like you guys are still on the previous page. So I'm going to hang out here for a minute. And if someone could just add to the chat when they are done with their secure code, essentially when you're done, you're going to get probably an email or you're going to get something that looks like this. And it's going to say basically that your FSA ID was successfully created. The first person who gets there, can you guys just drop something in the chat and let us know so that I kind of know where the pace of where you guys are? Awesome. All right, they're starting to roll in. Good work, good work. Okay. So awesome, awesome. Thank you guys, you're doing a great job. Yay, so you did one of the hardest parts of the FAFSA, which is making sure that all your stuff matches. One thing I want you to pay attention to, when you get to your verification page here, you're probably gonna see Social Security Administration verification. It's probably gonna say pending. So over the next couple of days, okay, awesome. We're still on the EMAR part. Keep trying. You're doing good. I won't move too much faster. You guys are, can you guys confirm some of you are still verifying with your phone number and with your email? Awesome, no problem. For those of you that are here as our youngins, I think that that's important to know. If you have any older siblings, or if you have a parent that went to college, remember, you can only get one FSA ID for your entire life, which means that if your parents, you have a sibling who already submitted a FAFSA, your parent probably already has one. Don't create another one. So you want to, well, you can't create another one. So you want to figure out what that FSA ID was from your sibling. Awesome. So we got someone still waiting on their social. That's totally okay. This is going to be recorded, and you guys are going to be able to re-watch this on the City Schools YouTube channel. So we actually have like a College and Career Readiness playlist. If you just go to the City Schools playlist on YouTube, you guys can watch it. Just know that that's available to you. If your email or phone number changes over the years, that's an excellent question. I am not going to scroll down because you're going to see all my information. But if you just click update contact information, if you're looking at the screen that I'm on right now, you can update it. So like 2 days ago, I updated my address. But yeah, I also have updated my contact information. And so want to go back again, when you have to update your FAFSA, or sorry, your FSA ID, if you ever have to update it, I'm gonna go here. This isn't working. Create is where you create one. Manage is where you're going to manage all parts of this process. So once you guys sign in, you're going to look for the part that says Manage FSA ID. So again, in the next couple of days, the Social Security Administration is going to confirm that the things you put on your FSA ID are accurately matching with the Social Security Administration. If they are matched, it'll show up as matched. So you can sign into your FAFSA right now with the FSA ID you just created, but you can't actually submit it until the Social Security Administration verifies your information. Because again, they just want to make sure that the person that they're giving $6,000 to is the person that they actually say that they are. And so that's why they're just like being super extra, and there's just like all of this adulting going on. That's really what it's about. If you come here and your Social Security verification says unmatched, it means there are 3 things that could possibly be wrong: the spelling of your name, your date of birth, or your Social Security number. And we have a lot of students that will like have their parents fill this out, and like the parents will put in their birthday with like the kid's Social Security number, and it just gets messed up. Awesome, we got some people submitting. I'm so pumped. So awesome. So you guys might get an email. Awesome, we have one person who is stuck, so I'm just gonna ask you where you're stuck. If you can just type in where you're stuck, we can walk through that as well. But again, I'm gonna hang out for a little bit after this, and we can make sure you guys get that one-on-one support that you need. Again, this is a very individualized process. Yes, it can take a second to send the code. That's okay. But just, you've listened to the process, and we'll keep coming back to this stuff. So to refresh, anyone who might have to do this a little bit later. Yay, we got more people making an account. We got more people, awesome. All right, so do you see this picture right here where it says create an FSA ID? If you need to create it for the first time for you and or a parent, you go to create. If you need to check and see if the Social Security Administration has verified you, if you need to change your contact information, if you forgot your password, you're gonna click on manage. But you're always gonna go to fsaid.ed.gov. Okay, that was page 1. Page 2 was where you're quadruple checking your social, your date of birth, and your legal name to make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be. Then you have the security questions. You're making sure you sign in. You're making sure you register your name, your email, and then your phone number, your mobile phone number there. All right, now when I log in, where should I go? That's a great question. So what do you actually do with this when you're done? So now you just created your FSA ID. Remember, in a few days, you are going to make sure that your Social Security Administration matched you. That's what you want. Before I move forward and show you what you actually do with your FSA ID, I want you guys to know that if you are the first child in your family to apply to college or apply for an FSA ID and your parents are married or they are in your life, a parent will need to have an FSA ID. If your parents are married, you just need one parent. If your parents are separated or never married, but they're still in your life, you need just one. So that means that if your older sister completed an FSA ID with your mom, but your older sister like forgot all of the information, you still have dad, or someone else, grandma, if she is your guardian, but it has to be your legal guardian, who can sign the FAFSA. If you are homeless or you are in foster care, it's going to be a little different because you actually don't need parent information. And so again, my information will be at the end of this presentation. We can talk through all that stuff together, but just know, even if you don't file taxes, you're still eligible for the FAFSA. It's not all about taxes. And so hang in there. All right, what do we actually do with this? In next week, 2 weeks, 21st, I think, we're actually gonna fill out the FAFSA. So you're going to go to fafsa.ed.gov, and it's going to bring you to the FAFSA application. When you're ready to fill out your FAFSA, and if you would like to do it with us, if you'd like to do it with your school counselor, that's great. You're going to click that you're new to the FAFSA. And now you are opening up a brand new FAFSA application. And the important part, so you're going to click that you are the student, and look what it's asking for. It's asking for your FAFSA ID and password. In my experience, this platform tends to like behave a little more nicely when you use your email address. So put in like the email you registered with your FAFSA, and then your password. That tends to work better. Must agree to terms and conditions, certify it. Okay, go for it. Yes, if you guys have to agree to terms and conditions, you can go ahead and certify those and move forward. That's a great question. So once you guys sign in with your FAFSA, that's when you'll actually fill out the form. One of the first questions that you're going to have to ask, or you're going to be asked, is which application you want to fill out. You do not want to fill out the 2021 FAFSA. You want to fill out the 21-22 FAFSA, because that's when you need money. You don't need money this year because you're a senior in high school. You need money for your freshman year of college. And so you're going to fill out the 21-22 FAFSA, not your current year. A lot of students fill out the wrong year, and then they're like, where's my money? And it's like, well, they already gave it away. So just make sure you're filling out the right application. But we'll get into this a little bit deeper in 2 weeks. But I believe that we have some fun for you guys. Miss Tucker, you ready for the fun? Are we raffling off some Under Armour jackets and some other cool stuff?
I'm always ready for the fun. So, we're going to take everything we just did. Thank you so much, Tracy. And we're going to flex. So we have something called the hashtag FAFSA Flexing Challenge, and I really hope that you're ready. So what we're going to do, we have our survey that we normally give you guys at the end of every session. But there's a huge incentive for this one. So once you complete your survey for today's session, you will be eligible for a raffle where we're going to spin a wheel and call out names. We are raffling off 2 Under Armour jackets. So you really want to make sure you get that survey in and you have a chance to win something cool, okay? The other incentive that we have, thanks for dropping that link, Tracy, is the hashtag FAFSA Flexing Bonus Challenge. And this is just something fun that we thought about in addition to our normal survey. We want you to take a screenshot and or selfie in front of your FSA confirmation page. So once you've finished setting it up, you've added your information, your email, your password, your social security number. We don't want to show that because Lord no. But just take a picture in front of that confirmation page that says you've got it done, you've got it set up, and you are going to use the hashtag FAFSA Flexing in your caption. And you want to make sure that you tag myself at Hey Miss Tucker, CCR with 2 Y's, and at Miss Kittle _ the FAFSA lady. All that information is there on IG because that's the only way that we'll be able to see it. So that's for your second chance to win. And the first person that gets that done in Instagram, that's our platform, will have an opportunity to win a jacket or will win the jacket itself. So you really want to make sure that you do both of those things. We're going to play a song, and by the end of this song, we want to see you flex, okay? If you have any questions, drop them in the chat at this time. The survey is up and loaded for everyone. Let the games begin.
Alrighty, so you guys are going to have about 3.5 minutes, get through the survey, get the information posted. Y'all, I only have 3 friends on Instagram because I just started it. So can you please find me and follow me? I need some friends. So we're going to start the music now, start working on those things, and we will see who our Under Armour jacket winners are in a few minutes.
Woo! On the 14th, we still have people coming in. On the 14th, we do not have a Wednesday workshop because you guys have a half day of school, so no worries for the 14th, but we will be reconvening on October 21st where we will show you how to complete your FAFSA application, the full thing. So today we worked on the FSA ID, which is your first step, but on the 21st, we're doing the full thing. So we want you to make sure that you bring your information, you bring your your parents' tax information and all the other things that we've outlined. And then on the 28th, we're going to do our last Cash for College workshop, which is on our scholarship series. So big scholarship programs and making money moves for other financial aid resources and support. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for the rest of October.
Awesome. So we are going to actually fill out your FAFSA, and then October 28th, just to emphasize, there are specific scholarships. There's like full ride scholarships just for Baltimore students. So we're going to talk through some of those schools that offer those just for Baltimore City students. And we're also going to talk through some other like big scholarships that you guys can win as well. So to prepare for your FAFSA for the next 2 weeks, again, you guys can get support one-on-one with your school counselor. You guys can reach out to Miss Tucker and I, and we can get you guys started and get you connected with the resources and the people who can help you fill out your FAFSA. You can join us in 2 weeks and walk through it step by step. What is it that your legal guardian has to look over? So yes, that's a great question. So a little bit about what to expect from the FAFSA. You're going to sign in with your FSA ID. They're going to ask you to confirm your address, your zip code, your name, all the stuff about your identity. It's going to ask you to confirm that you're like a first-year student, that you want to like apply for work study, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit about that, what that means. You're going to add some schools on your FAFSA that you think you want to apply to. So you need at least one school in your brain that you think you might apply to, and you're going to put that on your FAFSA. Then it's going to ask you information about your parents and about yourself, and it's about income. And so again, if you have taxes, you want to get your 2018, 2019 tax information, your 2018, your 2019 tax information from your parents. That is, or you need to get their FSA ID. So your homework is to either finish your FAFSA and or register a parent with a FAFSA. If you have a parent or legal guardian, that is who is going to complete it. If you have a complicated family circumstance, everyone should be able to fill out a FAFSA as long as you have a social security number. No family circumstance is too complicated, okay? So there's some things that come up when you fill out your FAFSA sometimes, but feel free to email Ms. Tucker and I. We're definitely a safe space. You can talk about whatever you need to talk about with us, but you're going to need a parent FSA ID and your FSA ID. If your parents do not file taxes, if your family is 100% on public assistance, that's okay. Colleges don't care how you make your money. Really, they just want to know like how you afford to live. So if they're going to ask you, how do you live in housing? And you say, I get subsidized housing, great. Show them that, right? If they want to say, how do you feed yourself? You're going to say, okay, we got food stamps. Like, this is how we do it, right? Another family might say, like, we make this much amount of money, like through taxes, right? The college or the government doesn't really care whether you file taxes, when you're supposed to, or if your family isn't eligible due to public assistance, that's okay. You just need to make sure that you're able to answer questions around, like, how does your family afford to live each day? And so they're going to ask for social security information, taxes if you have them, if not public assistance records. They're going to ask you how much you have in your current bank account. Most students I've worked with, it's like zero. Very rarely is someone like $100,000. So you want to think about just generally like how much does your family have in their bank account at the end of each month. And then information about your guardians. So if you have, so the FAFSA works off of something called Smart Skip logic. So if you have married parents, it's going to ask you questions about your married parents. And one of those questions is going to be like, when is your mom and dad's birthday? When did they get married? What was their marriage date? If your parents were separated or never married, they're going to ask like around what month and what year. They're not going to ask like for like August 15th, right? They're going to ask you what month and in what year about did your parents separate, etc. So that's kind of what they're asking. And then my parents said that they went on their own. Nope, you guys can do the FAFSA on your own as you wish. That's completely okay. But this is just a really good time for you guys to start having conversations with your parents about the FAFSA. Because again, some family circumstances might be a little bit different than you guys might think. And so it's really awesome. I want to give you guys so many kudos for being here early and starting this process early, because money does run out. That's one thing I will share. Money does run out. So you guys really want to make sure that you are getting everything in by March. March 1st is going to be the deadline for all of this. But again, get it in early. Let's get you guys more jackets, and we'll learn more step-by-step processes for the 21st. before Ms. Tucker?
Alrighty, so we just want to say thank you again for joining us. We really hope that the session was helpful for you in completing the first step of completing your FSA ID. Our contact information is here. I'm sending some private messages to students who won those amazing Under Armour jackets. If you can send us your information, and we'll make sure we get those things out to you. And join us again on the 21st. So thank you again for joining. We'll hang out for a couple minutes if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, guys.